Welcome to the Gamer Agenda podcast, where our agenda is to be gay
and play games.
I'm Dredians, a gay-ass artist and professional primate pal.
And I'm Spider Staryu, a sassy gamer from New York who keeps things real and keeps it 100. This is episode 6 of our podcast, and today's agenda is a continuation of the Purple Pamphlet. This is part 3 of our 4-part series. Now, Dredians, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about the Purple Pamphlet?
That's right. We're going through a famous piece of anti-queer propaganda known as Homosexuality and Citizenship in Florida, or also known as the Purple Pamphlet. And let me tell you guys, this thing is... We thought we could cover this thing in one episode. We were wrong. This thing is just chock full of, really extremely heinous accusations and depictions of gay people. We were just literally stopping at I think we only got maybe a third of the way through it.
Mm-hmm.
It was just so intense that we had to stop at every page and be like, well, hold on a second.
Yeah, every single thing we read, we're like, that don't sound right. We gotta clock that. And I'm glad we did, because we made lots and lots of great points. So again, I just want to really put out there, if you haven't seen part 1, make sure you have listened to part 1. And we're going to review more of the pamphlet. So, yeah, let's just get into it and get where we left off, right?
Before we get into it, actually, do you want to, I'd like to actually just go through very quick, just a few, key points, for those coming from episode 1, just a few key... For those coming from episode 4, just a few highlights from what we've read so far that really stood out to us. Stuff like likening gay people to sexual predators, claiming that they're worse than child molesters, that they want to recruit the youth. They have an attraction to the youth. And mind you, a lot of this is just focused on gay men. There's been a few mentions of lesbians here and there, but it's just these gay men, they're cruising for young boys, and they want to recruit them with pornography, and you have all these politicians we gotta make a stand, we have to start fighting, this war on homosexuality. It's ridiculous.
It's quite insane. And when we were reading through it, it really was wow, isn't it crazy how a lot of the stuff you hear that happened back then is the same stuff you hear again today. It's the same stuff. Gay men are recruiters. Now it expands to include trans people in that, right? It's the same language they used back then. So it shows you, if you're not looking at history tends to repeat itself. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And you know how? It's because they can get away with it. Because like I just said, sometimes people don't care to hear about history, so it's you see, that's why we need history. That's why we need to look in the past, because if we don't, we're doomed to repeat the same mistakes, and we see it happening now. So
yeah, and despite this, the Purple Pamphlet, when at the time of its release, it actually received a lot of backlash. It was deemed obscene and pornographic, and the organization that was in charge of publishing it pretty much disbanded the following year. But the primary reasons that it received a lot of backlash was mostly just for the image content inside. It's oh, you're talking about, this is pornography, you're showing pictures of naked men and talking about sex. Let's, nobody was pointing out that it was, their extreme accusations and mischaracterizations of gay people. Nobody cared about that. People cared that there was, porn pictures in there. So, even though this book was commercially a failure, the language and the ideals in it persisted throughout the decades and still exists now. And I believe in this episode, we're going to go through the next part of the pamphlet, which covers Florida laws on sex offenses, and this is going to be fun, a glossary of homosexual terms and sex acts.
Yeah, I'm really glad we actually split this into 2 parts, because You know, we recorded the other one like kind of later in the day, and like I really wanted us to get into it. So I'm glad we waited another day. We're like all freshened up, you know, it's a brand new day. We have more energy. So we really will like read this and be like, what in the world? And also have some laughs too, because you got to at some of it you have to just laugh at how ridiculous it is and what they think they know about gay people that they clearly don't know.
Yeah. And we also don't want to overwhelm you, the audience, because, like, this is a lot to take in. This is a lot for us to, like, read. So I can't even imagine how it feels to be listening to this. People on YouTube, you'll be able to see, like, photos of the pamphlet itself. But if you're listening somewhere else and you're just getting the raw audio here, like, I don't blame y'all for, like, hit the pause button and just, like, taking a moment to just like let it set in. So yeah, this is for the best that we're splitting this into multiple parts because again, we didn't even get through like half of the pamphlet. There's just so much to talk about. So why don't we get started?
Yes. Alright, let's get into the pamphlet. Alright, the first thing we're going to be getting into is, and this part anyway, is the Florida laws on sex offenses. And this was basically how Florida interpreted sex offenses and then the punishments for said sex offenses in Florida back in 1964, I believe. So we're going to read through it and let's go. All right, Florida laws on sex offenses. Illegal forms of natural intercourse. 1. Fornication. Unlawful heterosexual intercourse between two unmarried persons. Punishment: 3 months of or fine not to exceed $30. 2. Lewd and lascivious behavior. A. If any man and woman not being married to each other lewdly and lasciviously associate and cohabit together. B. If any man or woman, married or unmarried, is guilty of open and gross lewdness and lascivious behavior. The offense of lewdly and lasciviously associating and cohabiting together includes both lewd and lascivious intercourse, and or living or dwelling together as if the conjugal relation existed between the parties. Both elements must be proven to sustain a conviction. The punishment? Not more than 1 year in prison, or 1 year in the county jail, or fine not to exceed $300.
Mind you, this is 1964 money, so like $30 in 1964 compared to now is about $280. So, you see a fine of $30, it's like, oh, that's not so bad, but that's like 1964 money, not 2023 money.
Yeah, and then we look at the second punishment for number 2 we mentioned in lewd and lascivious behavior. That's $300. That's like
that's about like $2,800.
Crazy amount of money for. We'll get into that. Let's just continue reading.
Yeah.
Though. Let's continue reading. 3. Adultery. Voluntary heterosexual intercourse of a married person with a person other than his spouse. If either party is married, both shall be deemed guilty. Punishment: not to exceed 2 years in prison, or 1 year in the county jail, or fine not to exceed $500. 4. Incest. Persons within the degrees of consanguinity within which marriage are prohibited, or declared by law to be incestuous and void, who intermarry or commit adultery or fornication with each other. Punishment: not to exceed 20 years in prison or 1 year in a county jail.
Alright, so these are just like general offenses. We haven't gotten to directly into like the homosexual stuff yet. These are just like genuine. These are just general laws that are like illegal for everyone. And I think it's very interesting that a lot of these laws are about like sex between people who aren't married. Like that was a big thing. It still kind of is a thing. Like people would get so they would like if you weren't married and if you had sex before marriage, like, oh my god, that's as big as a sin as being a homo.
Yeah.
And to figure, it's funny comparing this to incest. like putting this on the same level of that is just really it's just really funny to me.
It's crazy how serious they really took, marriage vows. Like, we look at adultery, it's like, oh, if you cheat on your spouse, you can be in prison for 2 years. It's like, or a fine of, like, something that can't exceed $500. That's insane! That is insane! So, look, I'm not saying cheating is right. We don't want people to cheat. But, like, to be put in jail for cheating? Oh my god, it's just insane, the laws that existed back then. And a lot of it, I feel like, okay, incest, I understand. Like, incest is not right. It's not, I don't support that in any way. Like, I can understand the problems with something like that. But to be like, oh, adultery, we're gonna, keep you in jail. It's like, are you insane? Like, they really were so hard on sex back then. It's insane. Like, you could just be put in prison for, having sex with someone you're not married to. Oh, prison for 3 months. Wow. I feel like a lot of it is, kind of based on religion. I feel like religion probably played a big part here in deciding the laws. And it's, kind of sad.
Yeah, it's pretty much just like, if you're not having sex the right way, go to jail. If you're having sex before marriage, if you're not conceiving, if you're having sex with another man or another woman, go to jail. That's not the right way to do it. It's illegal.
Exactly.
That's not what God wants.
That's not what my God wants.
Number 5, prostitution. A woman who permits any man who will pay her price to have natural sexual intercourse with her. Punishment: fine not exceeding $500 or imprisonment not to exceed 6 months or both. Yeah, like, adultery, prostitution, like, that is, you have to pay an even bigger fine of that. You have to pay an even bigger fine for that than, like, public sex.
Insane.
Number 6, rape. Whoever ravishes and carnally knows a female the age of 10 years or more by force and against her will, or unlawfully or carnally knows and abuses a female child under the age of 10 years, punishment: death, unless a majority of the jury recommends mercy. So yeah, death penalty. That was definitely a thing. I think it's still a thing in some places.
In some states, it still is. I don't know if Florida still has the death penalty, but I know states like Texas, Missouri.
Let me Google that.
Yeah. We fact check on the Gamer Agenda podcast.
Yeah, Florida still has death penalty, and so does Texas.
Oh. Are we really shocked that Florida is still corrupt? I'm not shocked.
No, thanks, DeSantis.
Fuck you, DeSantis. Oh!
Wow, there's a lot of states that actually still have, like, active death penalties.
Can you name some of them, please?
Texas, Florida, Oklahoma, Louisiana, Georgia, Ohio, Indiana, Wyoming,
a lot of southern states, and then
Utah,
Utah,
Nevada, Kansas, Arkansas, Tennessee, both the Carolinas, Montana, Kentucky. Did I already say Kentucky?
No. You say Utah?
Utah, yes. There's like 24 states. There's 24 states that have active death penalty in some form. 24 that don't, and then 3 that are like it's kind of up in the air.
Wow.
Anyways, let's continue. Number 7, carnal intercourse with an unmarried person under 18. So that's like statutory rape. Any person who has unlawful carnal intercourse with any unmarried person of previous chaste character who at the time of such intercourse is under the age of 18. Punishment: not more than 10 years in prison or fine not to exceed $2,000.
Can we define chaste? I'm sorry, can we define chaste? Let me see. I'm looking up right now. Chaste, abstaining from...
It's like chastity.
Oh, okay. Got it. Chastity. Got you.
So yeah, like a intercourse with like a unmarried virgin under 18.
Got it. All right, thank you.
Number 8, carnal intercourse with an unmarried female idiot. That's me. Uh, no, idiot in this sense. They're referring to like the mentally ill.
What?
Any male person who has carnal intercourse with an unmarried female, with or without her consent, who is at the time an idiot, lunatic, or imbecile, punishment not to exceed 10 years in prison. The 60s and like even now, like terrible treatment of people with, damn it, I'm trying to think of like a PC way to say it. Like insane people. The 1960s were not a great time. Not just for homosexuals, for a lot of people. It was bad if you were gay, bad if you were black, bad if you were a woman, bad if you were disabled or mentally handicapped in any way. Just kind of bad.
This is the first time I've actually heard the word idiot be used to describe someone who has either a mental illness or some type of some sort of problem.
Yeah,
I'm
no, idiot.
Actually shocked.
Idiot used to be used like retard. Like it was a word to describe someone who was mentally feeble.
Wow. I'm really shocked right now. Like, I'm actually, like, shocked. I did not know that word was used like that. Because you just hear nowadays, everyone's like, oh, you idiot. And that's what it actually meant back then? Oh, my God.
Yeah, a lot of, it's a bit shocking to see this, like, sort of, primal language here, this sort of antiquated, outdated language, but I mean, it's the 60s, so.
Alright. Child molester crimes and unnatural sex crimes. 1. Child molester law. An offense shall include attempted rape, sodomy, attempted sodomy, crimes against nature, attempted crimes against nature, lewd and lascivious behavior, incest, and attempted incest, assault, when a sexual act is completed or attempted, and assault and battery, when a sexual act is completed or attempted. When the acts are committed against, to, or with a person 14 years of age or under. Punishment, it shall be within the power and jurisdiction of the trial judge to A. Impose a term of years not to exceed 25, B. Commit for treatment and rehabilitation to the Florida State Hospital, or commit to Florida Research and Treatment Center. Imposition of sentence may be deferred pending discharge. Next, crimes against nature law. 1. Crimes committed per OS, oral copulation. A. Fellatio. A sexual deviation where gratification is obtained by sucking the penis. It may be practiced by males in homosexuality, or by the female where she introduces the penis into her mouth. B. Cunnilingus. A form of sexual deviation where a person derives sexual excitation by licking the clitoris, or vulva, or the vagina. It is practiced by female homosexuals, lesbianism, or by a male with a female. C. Analingus. A form of sexual deviation where a person of either sex derives sexual excitement by licking the anus of another.
When they put it in such, like, technical terms like that, it sounds gross as hell. It's like licking the anus. It's like...
It's so gross. It's like, just say licking butt. Like, I don't want to hear anus. It's such a gross word.
Anus. Yeah, it's such a... Yeah, it's... Whenever... Yeah, if someone's like, yo, I'm into eating ass, it's like, I love licking anus.
I know, it's like, ugh, like, don't say it like that. It sounds so
well,
gross.
That's how these lawmakers felt hearing people doing that. It's like, oh, they're licking anuses. Jail, jail, jail.
You're licking anus, shut up, go to jail. Wow. 2. Crimes committed per anus. What? 2.
Yeah, I like how they're doing per os and per anus. So it's like crime committed per mouth and per ass. Like how many mouths have you fucked? How many butts have you fucked?
Too many to count.
I forgot.
I'm messing around. 2. Crimes committed per anus. Anal copulation. A. Pederasty, pedophilia. A form of sexual intercourse through the anus. Carnal copulation of male with male, particularly man with boy, by penetrating the anus with the penis. Also, when the same act is with the female. This is also referred to as sodomy. 3. Crimes committed with animals. A. Bestiality. Sexual relations between human beings and an animal, commonly between human male and female animal, also referred to as sodomy. Punishment: all crimes against nature, not to exceed 20 years in prison. Wow. So, that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's crazy how these sodomy laws primarily, focus on the demonization of gay people, whether it be gay men or gay women, the acts that they commonly do, which is not just acts they do. Straight people can do it too. Straight people can lick and, with all that stuff, so this is not just specifically to one sexuality, but it's like one sexuality is demonized the most. So.
Yeah, they're like, a lot of this law is like focused towards like acts committed with a penis. Like women are perfectly capable of sodomizing people. That doesn't make it okay, but I just think it's very fun, very interesting that so much of these laws are just focused on men as the aggressors.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart, like, how many men I know, both straight and gay, have, like, dealt with, like, accusations of being a sexual predator or being sexually aggressive just because they're a guy. Or they don't even need to be a guy. Just the nature of having a penis. Like,
yeah. Because
people make all these accusations that trans women are gonna... They're just men in disguise. They're trying to get into the women's bathroom to rape people. It's like... It's something I see coming both from the left and the right, because, from the right, you have people saying that, like, gay men and trans women are sexual predators, they want to rape women and children, and then on, like, some, left-wing sides, you have people who, like, think they're progressive, but they're like, oh, all men are rapists, all men are pigs,
yeah.
And, all this, like... penis focus, like, hostility and associating the penis solely, associating the penis as this sort of weapon for sexual deviancy, and the anus or the vagina as, like, these pure and oh, you can't, anal sex is, like, completely off the table. Like, back then, like, anal sex was just like, it's all sodomy. It's like, it's all degenerate, it's all illegal, and the vagina is supposed to be pure, and you have to save your, if you're a woman with a vagina, you have to save yourself for sex, and you get married to a man, and you give yourself to him, but if he takes you unwillingly, then it's illegal, as if like you only have two options as a person with a vagina. Either you willingly give yourself to someone with a penis, or you are unwillingly given to someone with a penis. It's like, you only ever receive.
Yeah. And it's like, how dare you receive pleasure, right? Because cunnilingus is considered crimes against nature law. It's like so crazy that, like, just the pleasure that you get from sex is demonized, because it's like, oh, you're only allowed to do this. Man, woman, dick, vagina. That's it. That's how it is. And it's like, I maybe see, like, maybe they were thinking, like, okay, we want people to, like, to multiply. We want lots of babies in this country. We want lots of babies in this country. But, like, you're demonizing it so much. And what's crazy is that, like, they're demonizing it so much, but we know good and damn well people still did this stuff back then. And a lot of people, particularly heterosexuals, were able to get away with doing this, right? That, like what I was saying, the focus of a lot of this stuff was mainly on gay men, and of course, some of it's on lesbians too, because like they mentioned cunnilingus. But primary part of a lot of this stuff, the crimes against nature law, is focused on men in love having sex. And it's so sad. It's so heartbreaking that, like, that's the focus. Like, that's what we're going to demonize. Like, and I have a theory about this, because I was thinking about this yesterday after we were done filming. I think a lot of this type of stuff is from a heterosexual man's perspective. Because this stuff is gross to heterosexual men. Like, ooh, dudes doing each other up the butt? Ew, gross. Oh, two dudes sucking each other off? Oh, gross. Right? Like, that's where I feel like it's primarily is. They're grossed out by two men in love having sex, so they demonize it. It's very easy to demonize it because the majority of the world are heterosexual men, are heterosexual women. But primarily, who makes the laws and stuff, especially back then, who makes the laws and who had the power? Heterosexual men. And they still do have power. No, not being shady or nothing, but I'm just saying the truth. I'm saying the truth. And turning, in terms of the societal power, that's who has the power. So...
yeah, and God forbid, a woman willingly give her body for sex for money. There is fuck, what am I trying to say here? Yes, it is true that a lot of prostitutes are like forced into work, and there's a lot of them are underage people that are forced into the profession. But there are a lot of prostitutes and sex workers who like they just like having sex. They want to get money for it. They genuinely enjoy this line of work, and they want to get paid for it. And sex work is valid work. We are not anti-prostitute here on the gamer agenda. Like, if you like showing off your body, if you like getting down and you want to get paid for it, go for it. I think it's a valid form of business. If it's something you're good at, it's like the same as like, someone who gives massages or does your nails. Like, yeah, it's just something you could do yourself or with someone else. It's just something purely for pleasure. But, I'd say a sex worker deserves to be paid and legal just as much as a masseuse or a nail technician would. Yes, there are a lot of, like, shady prostitution businesses and illegal things lurking in the shadows, but that, you could say the same about the porn industry or any other, like, sexual-based work, because there's, whenever because sex is so highly controlled and demonized, there's always, like, a power imbalance issue, and the problem is not with prostitution, but it's with these power imbalances that exist in the first place, because whether or not you get rid of prostitutes, you're still going to have creepy guys hassling women for sex. You're going to have, creepy women forcing themselves on guys. It's not exclusive to one gender or one sexuality. It happens all the time. And it's, the problem isn't because of gay people or prostitutes or any of the things that these laws are trying to insinuate.
Exactly. And it's like, the demonization of sex workers is like it still happens today with people who have OnlyFans. You see someone who has OnlyFans like on Twitter or whatever, they broadcast it on Twitter, and like someone goes to their page and like maybe they're talking about something or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, you do OnlyFans, so I don't want to hear your opinion. I mean, if they're making money, doing what they like and doing what sells, what's the problem with that? They're not hurting no one. It's their body. They can do what they want with their body. Right? It's their body, and it's like this demonization. You see what the problem is with the demonization of sex. The demonization only really falls on one side of the coin, because the other side of the coin is totally fine, to do what they want because they're in the legal bounds. But, why cast judgment if it's something that we all do, when we all, everyone does a lot of these acts and things like that? They shouldn't be judged. They shouldn't be put in jail like that's I feel like one thing we're kind of missing is that like people really were put in jail for this stuff. That's sad. That breaks my heart that there were people put in jail for literally just sharing love with one another, all because of what some people say is wrong, and it makes it wrong. So like you could be two men having sex together, licking each other's butts or whatever the case is, having a good time, and then just be put in jail for it. Like, you're put in jail, like, no, how dare you do these things, this is wrong. And we know good and damn well police probably focused on these people, like, whether they saw two gay people out, they probably followed them, or probably wrote their names down, or their picture down so that they can be tracked and found. I don't doubt it. Especially think about certain apartments and stuff having thin walls. Imagine they heard like two guys having sex, and then they probably call the cops. How scary is that, man? It's so horrible.
Yeah, it's just it's really disgusting. Honestly, I don't even have anything to say to that. It's just like, damn, this is really something that was happening and is still happening because. Again, we're going to say this so many times throughout this episode and just in the podcast in general. A lot of these common queer issues all stem back to misogyny and anti-sex and all sorts of things.
Exactly.
So now let's move on to the glossary of homosexual terms, because I think we need a little bit of a laugh.
Yes.
After reading these insane laws. So let's jump right into it. Glossary of homosexual terms and deviant acts.
Oh.
Gay, a homosexual.
Queer, a homosexual, usually of low class and habits. Oh my god.
That's me. Fairy, interested only in sex with any man.
That's me. Degenerate, extremely sexual with any person, male or female, mentally unbalanced when sex is involved. Some have been known to use animals. Dangerous to gay and normal people. Oh, did you clock that? Dangerous to gay and normal people. Gay people aren't included in normal people. They're their own category.
Gay and normal people.
Wow.
That's how we're gonna introduce the podcast now. Hey, hello, gay and normal people.
Hey, gay and normal people.
Can I? All right. Sorry, I know we just started, but I just want to say something real quick. The use of the word degenerate. That's a word that I see used even now. I see a lot of people like calling each other degenerates for the kind of media they consume, or like politicians calling queer people degenerates. I'll have you guys know a little quick history lesson. The word degenerate has a lot of roots tied back to the Nazis. Like Nazis love to use the word degenerate to describe like. There's like a whole thing called like there's like a whole thing called degenerate art.
Mm-hmm.
You could look it up for yourself. I don't want to deviate too much, but yeah, the word degenerate has a lot of ties with Nazism and all these sorts of far right ideologies. So like, if you're someone who likes to use the word degenerate casually, like maybe don't do that. Like, or at least don't call another person degenerate, because yeah, that is a bad word, and seeing it here does not surprise me a lot, because a lot of like anti-homosexuality is hand in hand with fascism, because the Lavender Scare and the Red Scare, it's all about like this hyper patriotism and all these people who are so invested in keeping the American way, the American lifestyle. They're fascists.
Exactly.
A lot of them are fascists. They might not be wearing a swastika and saying "Hail Hitler," but some of them are. I mean, if you look at the January 6th Capitol takeover and all those like tiki torch right wing parades, a lot of those people are straight up Nazis.
They
like
are.
I know some people like to say, oh, you just call anyone you don't like a Nazi. It's like, no, some of these people are dead-ass Nazis. Like, they've got, like, the anti-Semitic propaganda in their Twitter likes. They make, like, Hitler jokes real casually. They use all sorts of, like, internet lingo to refer to Jews and transgender people and black people. The Nazis are still around, and they have their hands they have their hands dipped into this pool of anti-queer, anti person of color, anti-trans, whatever. There's a lot of this stuff just ties in together, just like how I mentioned misogyny and anti-sex work. They all just sort of kind of like play nice with each other, and even if you aren't literally like wearing a swastika and saying Hail Hitler, you could very much easily be contributing to Nazi ideals by not knowing the meaning of these words and throwing them around, and you're sort of kind of like normalizing this language use. But anyways,
no, hold on one second. I want to say something, because you bring up such a good point right there. Like, you made a lot of good points right there, and it's like, it's crazy how these people literally portray Nazism. Like, they blend in so good, because they can fool lots of people to be like, oh, I don't believe in all that. I don't like Hitler. But, like, literally, you are doing exactly what he and his Nazi group were doing. Like, I think about people like Gays Against Groomers, and how those people, literally, some of the people who run that group were literally making jokes about Jews, were literally putting Nazi swastikas on their, like, pin interests or something like that. At least one of them were. And it's like, you literally look at the history of these people that have these groups, that they are Nazis. They really are. And it's like, wake up. Wake up. Like, no one who wants to demonize their own people are these good people with good intentions. Gays Against Groomers, going against trans people. They're not gays against groomers. They're gays against gays. That's what it is. Because they basically say, hey, you have to agree with us, and guess what? Any gay person who doesn't agree with us is a pedophile, and they're a groomer. So don't worry, we're the good gays. Like, we're the good gays that are fighting with y'all. But those gays, those are bad ones.
I can't tell you how many times I've seen someone with ACAB in their Twitter bio say, oh, this person likes X kind of porn. They deserve to rot in jail, or or like they make like all those people who make like FBI jokes and say that a certain group of people like I was mentioning last episode about how like pedophiles become such a nasty word that like anyone who's even like associated with pedophilia deserves death. Like, I don't even think real pedophiles deserve death. I know that sounds crazy, like, out of context, but the very nature of how the death penalty works and how easy it is to just mischaracterize someone as committing an illegal crime, like, I feel like for every, like, genuine creep that people get, there's, like, 100 people that are killed in their stead, and I don't think it's a very productive system. Like, I don't want to have innocent people sacrificed and accused just because there might be, like, one or two actual baddies out there.
Right.
There's just something that's, like, fundamentally flawed about that mindset. And when you're doing the Gays Against Groomers mindset, when you're using the word degenerate and saying a certain group of people deserve to be locked up in prison or put to death, you are basically emulating Nazi language. You are being a Nazi. You don't have to be sucking Hitler's dick to be a Nazi. You are saying Nazi words. You are acting like a Nazi.
Exactly. And it's very important to realize that is what you... Because some people literally think they're like, oh, they're just owning the woke people, like they're owning the left. But sometimes... And look, we can talk... we can literally say problems like what Dredians mentioned with the left earlier, like about the people who are like, oh, all men are bad. Like, there's problems with any ideology, but with this particular ideology, with this far right... This Nazism, they're getting away with it by just saying, like, oh, we just want America to be what it used to be. What it used to be, but there was so much... Look at what we're reading right now.
Mm-hmm.
The demonization of people. So, like, yeah, you want it to be what it used to be, where people like you were treated good, but you're still treated good. It's just
Yeah.
other people were treated bad. You're not treated bad for being straight or being heterosexual. You're not treated bad for that. And, ooh, me and Jordans are literally gonna have our own podcast about literally the people who say, like, there's heterophobia. There is no such thing as heterophobia.
No.
When you can be killed or your love is demonized, then we'll talk about heterophobia. But there's no such thing, because guess what? Like what this thing just mentioned, gay people and normal people. Heterosexuals are considered normal people. So don't give me that there's heterophobia in the world. There is no such thing. You're not demonized for being straight. You're not demonized for the act of being a male liking a female, or being a female liking a male. You are not demonized for that. So get the heck out of there with that.
Yeah, and you're not automatically the good guy or the one in the right just because you're gay or you're left wing or whatever. Like, as we just went over, there's tons of gay people and tons of left wing people who mirror like TERF or Nazi or some other fascist or toxic ideology.
Exactly.
And like when you like boil things down to us versus them, like, you don't get anything done. It's never as black and white as oh, there's the good guys and there's the bad guys, because
right.
There's just always so much more to it but we always, especially again, on the internet, you can't really explain yourself that well because you have character limits and whatnot. We have to like dumb down all of our language, and it presents a sort of flawed picture of what's really going on. And, this leads to a lot of, like, harmful stuff where, like, I think this happened, like, early 2022, when, like, there was that snowstorm that shut down, like, Texas's power grid. You remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and people were saying that, oh, well, that's what they get for voting red. It's like, not every person in Texas voted for Trump. Like,
exactly.
And even then, the people who did vote for Trump, like, not every Trump voter is evil. A lot of them are very vulnerable, poor people who, are either manipulated by others into, or some other thing. They genuinely believe. Or
religious.
Yeah. They're manipulated or some other way. They genuinely believe that Trump or Romney or McCain or every other single Republican, like, that they could genuinely help them. And Biden isn't so great either. There's no political candidate that's wholly good. When you as soon as you take the rose-tinted glasses off and you stop thinking in us versus them language, like, everyone's gray, it's not black and white. It's all just shades of gray, and you kind of have to, make your choices based on, the facts presented in front of you. But it just, again, like I said about the death penalty, like, I do not agree with any sort of ideology that says, oh, all these people deserve to die. Even if
exactly.
they're rapists, even if they're pedophiles, even if they're animal abusers, I don't think it's okay to say all these people deserve to die. Because there's just so much. When you just, like, go straight to, like, the extreme like that, you end up with a lot of people getting, like, falsely characterized. You end up with, like, people accidentally getting thrown in jail. I mean, people get thrown in jail for smoking weed. So I don't want to have a prison system with a death penalty if people can get arrested for something as simple as smoking weed or jaywalking or, what did this pamphlet say? Oh, yeah, adultery.
Adultery, yeah, 3 months in jail.
Oh,
absolutely
geez.
Insane. And I just want to mention quickly about that, what you said about Texas. When people were literally saying that, like, aha, that's what y'all get, I was so heartbroken. Like, that, those are human beings. Even those right-wing people who I can't stand, I don't want them to suffer. I don't want them to be killed. I don't want them to be, to be poor or to suffer. I don't want people to be in pain and suffer. That is not who I am. So, like, to say at all, anyone on left or right side, to say to any people, like, haha, that's what y'all get, that's so terrible to say. Don't ever demonize whole entire groups of people, because at the end of the day, understand it, because this is an American podcast. We, and the United States, we're all Americans. How are we gonna demonize each other but this one, because, okay, my religion is against you, so then I'm gonna be against you? Like, no, that's not what it's about. We're all supposed to have a system that works for us. And a lot of times it's people who don't want to, don't want to concede that their beliefs are not supposed to be for everyone. Like for example, with religious people who think that their beliefs need to be need to be in law. Okay, so my religion says this, so you can't do that. No, that's not how that works. You can't do that. Don't put that for everyone else. We have to have a system that works for every person, not just you, for your beliefs. You're allowed to follow whatever you want to believe, but you can't force that on every single person. Ah.
Yeah. I think it's very much possible to say, hey, I believe these people deserve human rights just like I deserve human rights. And, you can say that and not like them and not agree with them. Like, I think every person deserves the right to live, even if they're a terrible person. Because when you just, go straight into, pure rage mode, kill, 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 you end up hurting a lot more innocent people than the people who are, quote-unquote, actually bad. But anyways, we're ranting. Let's go back to these these crazy terms. Let's see here. Trade. People who like to be passive partners in sexual relations with homosexuals, one-sided affairs.
I find this term very interesting, and the term trade. So I was looking at the history of trade, and it's like it kind of feels like the basis of it is the same everywhere. The basis of a person has sex with a homosexual. It's at one-sided, so basically someone who is straight or maybe straight, more leaning on the straight side, and they have sex with someone who's gay. I've seen this word in ballroom culture, which they define it as a thug who has sex with you, right? But then also I see in the UK with Polari, with the gay slang that was used in the UK, trade, it's more like this. It's not like, ooh, someone who's like a thug. It's more like, you have sex with someone who might be straight or might appear straight, appear more like a straight person. Which, when they say that, I guess what they're trying to say is very masculine. Very masculine, and then you have sex with them, either for a trade of money or something like that. That's what it was used for. So I think it's very interesting, the history of this word and how it's kind of used or perceived differently depending on the country you grew up in, the English-speaking country you grew up in. So I found that interesting. Next word, dirt. Rough trade. Normal people. Oh my god. It's so hard to read normal people, I swear. Let me reread that. Dirt. Rough trade. Normal people, the same as trade, except they rob homosexuals after the affair of both money and clothing.
God. Imagine you hook up with someone and it's like, haha, I'm straight, I'm a normal person, give me your shoes.
That would be insane, but clearly it's a word, so maybe it happened to someone.
Clearly it was happening if there's a word for it.
If it's slang that a whole group of people know, yeah, it had to happen several times then, actually.
Yeah. Shishi. That's spelled Chichi, but it's pronounced shishi. Usually a room or apartment very effeminately decorated. Laceworks, drapes, etc.
Ooh. Swishy. A homosexual with very effeminate ways, especially in walking and gestures. I actually never heard the word swishy before, like I mentioned in the previous episode.
Yeah. I just hear swishy and they mention gestures, so I'm just thinking a guy just swaying his hips back and forth. He's swishing them, which I guess that's kind of what it's supposed to mean, or people joke about the gay hand gesture. You're kind of swish.
Yeah. Or also may refer to queen or regal, something like that. Because we always call gay people queens. Yeah, exactly, so.
Butch. A homosexual who appears to be very masculine. A term used by homosexuals to describe a normal person. The aggressive or masculine partner in a homosexual relationship between two females. Did you hear that, Spider? I'm normal. I'm a normal person.
Wow, congratulations, Dredians. You're normal. Oh my god. This next word, this is gonna be funny. Bitch. Bitch. A homosexual who is swishy and talks in an effeminate manner, frequently uses mushy language.
Jam, normal person, sometimes used to designate a normal person who is understanding in the ways of homosexuality, but who is untouchable for trade or anything else. This is also a word I've never heard of. Jam?
I've never heard jam.
Yeah.
Not used like this. Not used to describe a normal person.
Yeah, it's like, I guess you call them, oh, that guy's a jam or whatever.
So, like, how I'm taking it is, like, a straight person who is more understanding of gay people, but not someone, like, a gay person would hook up with.
Yeah, I guess kind of like a straight ally, I guess.
Yeah. Straight allies are our jam.
Yeah, shout out to our jams.
Shout out to our jams. Dog's lunch. Either a normal person or a gay person whose looks and actions are unattractive to the point of non-association.
Puppy's lunch. Not as bad as dog's lunch, but still unattractive.
Let your hair down. Meaning to admit being a homosexual by verbal means.
Hairpins, or just pins. To drop hints to a person whose ways are unknown to determine if he is a homosexual or not.
Come out. The time one admits he is a homosexual and adjusts himself to that life.
Alright, yeah, so there's a word that still is used today when people come out. Cruise. A method of picking up other homosexuals by a gay person, looking a person over as possible trade.
Fluff, or femme. A female homosexual who is effeminate in her ways. Oh.
I do still see femme used, but I don't really see fluff used that much anymore.
I still see femme.
Yeah, because I know in the lesbian community we've got butch and we've got femme and then we've got futch in the middle. That's like someone who's like butch or femme. Like they could be either or, kind of in the middle.
I've also heard I don't know if it's going to be mentioned in this list, but I've also heard the term stud used for lesbians.
Stud, yeah. Stud is usually if I remember correctly, is usually a lesbian of color, like a masculine lesbian of color.
Oh yeah. Because I mainly hear it by black lesbians. I've heard them say the word
yeah,
stud.
it's definitely like a black lesbian term. Yeah.
Got it.
Which is a shame because I'd love to use it for myself, but I'm not black, so if I ever call myself a stud, I like to use it in the like masculine sense. Like if you call like a dude a stud, because I said way far back in our very first episode 0. I am a genderqueer person. I do identify as female mainly. I use she her pronouns exclusively, but I do like to refer to myself with male terms like stud or king or sir. So yeah, we have butch again, but this time we have the lesbian exclusive definition, which is in referring to a female, one who is gay and acts and dresses in a masculine manner. So me.
Okay. Creep. A homosexual or normal person who is disgusting to the average normal or gay person in all ways. Oh my god, this constant normal or gay
normal
is
person. Are you normal or gay?
A Maury ad plays on the screen. Are you normal or gay? Call us at 1-800. Let us know.
Cute. An attractive person in the eyes of a homosexual, either male or female, depending on the homosexual sex. You heard that, guys. Only cute people. Only we can decide who's cute. It's a gay word now.
Exactly.
Don't steal our language.
Thank you, 60s pamphlet. Bisexual. A person who is neither exclusively homosexual nor heterosexual.
Okay, so this one's really interesting because, for the 60s, it's kind of a progressive definition of what bisexuality is. Like, you know, a lot of, we discussed on the bi episode, a lot of people mistakenly see bisexuality as like, oh, you like men and women equally, you know, and there's a lot of like misconceptions. And if you want to hear us talk more about those, go check out that episode. Which episode was that again? Was that 2?
that was episode 2. Check out our bisexual podcast. I believe it's called episode 2, The Bi Experience, as told by bisexuals. So go give it a listen. You know, it was a great episode, guys. Definitely give that a listen.
Finish listening to this one first, then you can go watch that one. But yeah, I this is kind of a progressive definition for the 60s. But what's also really interesting is there's like no other mentions of bis in here other than this. Like it's all about homosexuals and normal people. So it's like, what is a bi person then? Are they like kind of normal? Are they like normal on a good day? Or
half gay, half normal?
Yeah.
That's what bisexual people need to call themselves. Half gay and half normal.
Lesbian, a female homosexual.
Dyke or dyke. One spelled D-I-K-E and the other spelled D-Y-K-E. A female homosexual.
King, same as dyke.
Queen, a male homosexual.
Okay, so this one's a little confusing. So it says here a queen can be a male homosexual, but it also says a queen can be a leader of a group of female homosexuals.
Oh, so there's 2 types of queens.
Mm-hmm.
There's the gay man queen, and then there's the female lesbian leader of other lesbians.
Actually, hold on, Spider. There's more. There's a section here that says types of queens. You got the 69 queen, the Browning queen. I don't want to know what that involves. Reaming queen. Belly WH Bellywood. That
Bellywood queen
for something. Bellywood queen. Hand queen. Golden shower queen. All of the above are fairly well self-explanatory. I guess so.
Can we look these up, though? I kind of want to see. What is a Browning queen? Hold on. Browning queen. Slang.
They're just giving me pictures of beds.
That's what happened for me, too. I'm looking at Browning queen. I don't even see anything.
Looks like it's another word for someone who receives during sex, a male homosexual who receives during sex, where the one who delivers is a brownie king.
So the top?
A brownie queen's a bottom, and the brownie king's a top.
Got it. God, that's some ancient gay language.
What even is that?
What is reaming, though?
Reaming is like I think it's like fucking like when you ream someone.
Let me look up reaming.
It's like to bore a hole in something. That's what the word ream means.
Okay, so reaming is the top.
Yeah.
So we got a top, we got a bottom, a Browning queen, top, reaming queen. What is belly-wa?
I don't know.
Okay, so we got the Browning queen, which means like a bottom, reaming queen, who's a top, I have no clue what that they completely left out.
Anytime I try Googling it and I just get like the Purple Pamphlet itself again. That's gotta be like an abbreviation or something. I can't really find a definition for that. And I think it's very funny that they said, these are all self-explanatory. It makes me think of this sort of common issue that reminds me of someone. I think it might have been a Tumblr post I saw or something, bringing up that a lot of context for modern writing and even ancient writing is going to be lost to time, because when people like write about stuff, especially like more common things, it's like, everyone knows how to do this. You'll get what I mean. But then when those things like fall out of common practice, nobody's going to know what that means, because at the time that was sort of like, everyone knows what this means. Everyone knows how to do this. But then now no one knows how to do it, because no one actually like wrote down a description, because it was something that used to be common knowledge but no longer isn't. So this is kind of like reminding me of that post.
It is. It's very interesting to hear this stuff. I'm literally just searching through like gay slang words. I'm seeing things like butt pirate, butt pilot. I like that.
I've heard booty pirate before.
I'm literally seeing butt pilot, which literally is a male homosexual. I'm a butt pilot, y'all.
I can't believe you got your pilot's license.
I know, it took some time, but I finally happened. Are you proud of me?
I'm so proud.
Aw, thank you, Dredians.
You're gonna take so many guys on a great ride.
I am. I totally am. And all the butts around the world.
let's get back to it.
Let's get back to it. We took a huge tangent, but I know y'all found that funny.
This is just so amusing.
Okay, so I'll read the next one. Gay crowd. A group of homosexuals who run around together.
I mean, yeah, I guess that's true.
Us playing Pokemon Go.
Gay crowd, yeah. I don't know. Can you really call two people a crowd?
It's more than one.
We need to get more gays.
Any gays who play Pokemon Go, hit us up.
Gay bar. Popular meeting place for homosexuals.
Gay marriage. Mutual agreements between homosexuals of either sex to live together and observe the normal code of ethics concerning marital fidelity.
There it is. There's that word again. Normal.
Yeah, normal.
Trick day. A day that two married homosexuals are free to go with someone else for the one night. The frequency of these depends entirely on the agreement reached by the two married homosexuals. So there's that word again. We saw trick day pop up in the last episode, and both of us are like, never heard of that before. Like, gay people get married and then they just have like a cheat day? It's like, that just feels like made up. I don't know. Maybe there was like, because obviously I know in like the 60s and like that entire era of like the Lavender Scare and even before that, like, you know, and like the Stonewall era, you know, because being gay was so hard to do publicly, there was kind of like almost like a secret society. And yeah, there very much was like code words and language, you know, a lot of these words that are used in this glossary, but as someone who is a modern day gay who doesn't have to hide who she is, it's weird that there's all like these secret words and what have you.
Yeah, and then we know words like gay was literally one of those words that was a secret word. Like, are you gay? Like, that wasn't that you would ask that, and then people who were gay would understand exactly what they mean. But if you asked a normal person that, they'd be like, are you gay? They'd be like, well, yeah, I am. I'm very happy.
I'm feeling quite gay today. Thank you.
We're going to have a gay old time. So they didn't know. But, you know, it's interesting to read this to see how language has evolved. But I have never heard of no damn trick day. I've heard of the word trick being used to describe people. Like, ooh, that person's a trick. But I've never heard trick day. Like, okay, guys, okay, husband, right? You go with him, and you go deal with Jimmy's butt, and I'm gonna go deal with Bobby's butt. All right? Okay, we're gonna have a fun time. Tell me how it
Pablo.
is. Pablo. Like, they look through their list of names.
Just be back before 9.
Honey, what do you think about me being with Carlos today? Well, just be back for dinner, honey.
Carlos!
Gay dirt. A gay person who is considered tough and who expects money or clothing by force if necessary after a mutual sexual affair with another gay person.
G warning G. Red. Tip-off of an oncoming raid which will happen soon. Warning for all gay people to leave the bars and head home. G warning G. Blue. Same as above, but only more time to leave. G warning local. Tip-off that the club in which it is given is going to be raided. Also, used to inform another gay person that you're being watched and to be cautious.
Red light. A raid which is starting without enough time to leave safely. Only time enough to change places with the other homosexuals to make couples of the opposite sex and destroy all incriminating material. This warning is given by rapid repetition throughout the club or bar. Oh.
Yeah, so that was a thing that also happened a lot. You'd have, like, the police, like, storming gay bars, and I mean, I think that's pretty much how Stonewall happened. You'd have police raiding the bars, and so, the gay people, they would have, like, these methods to, like, either like, get the fuck out of there, or they just make themselves look like normal people. And you know, this isn't a gay bar, this is a normal people bar for normal people. We're all normal heterosexuals.
Oh, I literally have some tears in my eyes because this just is so sad.
Yeah.
Because this is really real. This is literally what happened to gay people back then because they were not seen as freaking human beings, by society. So literally they had to literally make code words like this: General Red, G warning G, General Red, G warning G, General Blue, like things like this, like to literally just be like, yo, be careful, police are gonna, put you in jail. And the police don't give a damn. They're all straight, but majority of them, especially back then, more than likely, were straight. They didn't give a damn. They just wanted to literally arrest people to make themselves look better, and they went back to their wives and their kids, or their husband and their kids. Oh, it's just so disgusting to me. It is so disgusting how police abuse has been happening for today, back then, way back then. I mean, let's be real. It's just crazy that human beings weren't allowed to just congregate as we're a social species, man. Like, we can't congregate to just be with people who are like us. It's just so horrible. Oh, it's just so much to think about how people had to deal with things back then. They had to either have those underground words, or they had to be in fear that, oh crap, a police officer's gonna come. And then also, I've read things like they would offer police, some of them would take offers of sex. Like they know to go to the gay bar to be like, hey, I'll only not arrest you guys if you suck me off. And it's just so heartbreaking that things like that happened. Like, gay people are human beings, man. Like, we're not creatures who deserve to be put in jail and, like, thrown out like this and like that. That's why, like what Jedian said, that's why Stonewall happened. Because it's like people had enough. And they've had enough, and they just had to fight back, because it's like, this is so crazy. This is stupid. You don't do this to straight people when they're in their bars, socializing and like that. But then you did that to gay people. That's why it's important for gay people. Let me tell you, young gay people, you gotta know your history. Stop going against each other. Stop doing this type of baloney, because guess what? This is what the type of stuff that they did back then. And if they could, some people would do this crap again. Right? If they had the ability, they had the power, they would make being gay a problem, and they would do this type of stuff again, that where we have to have language to save ourselves. And what's kind of messed up is this kind of pamphlet, if it actually took off, this would literally let a whole bunch of cops know, like, oh, if they're saying this, like, we know we gotta, go after them. How horrible.
Yeah, this had the potential to be really dangerous.
Really?
All right, and that has been the Gamer Agenda podcast. Thanks for listening to us, and here's where you can follow us. You can follow us on Instagram at the Gamer Agenda, on Twitter at Gamer Agenda Pod. That's Gamer Agenda Pod, pod spelled P-O-D. We have a Facebook page, The Gamer Agenda. Give us a like on Facebook. We have an email, thegameragenda@gmail.com. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions or ideas for future podcasts, or hey, if you want to guest star in a future episode even. Again, that's thegameragenda@gmail.com. You can find our podcast all over the internet. You can listen to us on Spotify, iTunes/Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Amazon Music, Anchor, Stitcher, Deezer, CastBox, Pandora, Radio Public, Podcast Addict, Pocket Cast, Chartable, Listen Notes. Wherever it's most convenient to you, you'll be able to download and listen to our podcast. And for me, you can find me on Twitter at Dredians. That's DREADIANZ. The Z's there because I'm a cool and edgy girl. You can follow me on Instagram at Dredians. You can send me some money my way on Ko-fi. Again, that's at Dredians. And yeah.
And you could follow me on Twitter at SpiderStarU, and on YouTube, SpiderStarU. And if you enjoyed this video and you're watching this on YouTube, please give it a thumbs up. I'd really appreciate it. And also, I have a PayPal. If you want to, drop $1 my way, my PayPal is paypal.me/Michael William Chavez. And why not give me $1? I spend hours and hours editing these podcasts. So if you really enjoy it, I'd really appreciate any sort of, charity you would love to give me. I'd appreciate it so much.
We really appreciate you taking the time to listen to these podcasts, especially these more serious ones where we talk about queer history. It's very important, we feel, that people get to know history, even the bad parts, especially the bad parts even. And, they always say that history repeats itself. So we hope that by learning how people used to treat queers in the past, it can help to treat them better today. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree with everything Dredian said. You know, this is a very important series. It's important for everyone to know their history, especially for gay people today and queer people today to know what's what and what happened back then and how a lot of it influences or gives people a kind of a guidebook on how to act now on, you know, whether it be laws or whether it be implementing things that are not true, saying things that are not true, then people just easily believe it. That's why knowing it, knowing the history is so important. So we appreciate all of you for listening, whether you're gay or not. We appreciate it so much. It means so much to us. And that's the end of our episode. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned next week for part 4, the final part of the Purple Pamphlet series. See you. Bye, everyone.
See ya.